Oh, hey there, guys. How you doing? I was just at the store and I bought tons of stuff. So guess what we're doing today? Do-it-yourself cosplay. For this video, we'll be cosplaying Grand Admiral Thrawn from the Expanded Universe series Heir to the Empire from Star Wars, specifically for Star Wars Weekends 2014 on May 30th. Now, I've had a lovely history of cosplaying characters, but this time, we're going to take it up a notch. Since this is a do-it-yourself video, we want to be as cheap and affordable as possible. That's why my first stop happened to be Amazon.com, where I found this lovely clinical white chef's coat. Here it was on me. You can see it is huge. But luckily, with a little love and pinning down some of the extra fabric, you can see how it was molded to fit the contours of my body. It ended up looking really good. Now, all we had to do was just sew this bad boy down and make sure it fit on me properly in the end. Alright, so what about these fancy golden epaulets that are sometimes seen on Thrawn in certain pictures? Remember guys, think cheap. Went to the dollar store and got this white plastic tub, which we drew the epaulet designs on. Now we're going to be using an X-Acto knife to cut into it, which is very sharp, so you'll want to get someone to risk their own fingers for your own cosplay, which is what I did. I mean, hey, it's what family's for, right? Anyway, we cut straight through it, keeping the line as straight as possible, which was really not easy, and again, very dangerous. Be very careful doing this, guys. And if you're underage, please look toward adult supervision. After those are all nice and cut out, you're going to want to assemble some glue sticks and a hot glue gun, and of course, some beautiful golden fabric and beautiful golden lace to go for your new epaulets. We'll be using our hot glue gun and laying out our plastic on top, and just gluing the edges like a present. Once it's all wrapped up nice and neat, it'll look something like this, with the edges at the bottom glued tightly to it. Now for the fun part. We get to start gluing this lovely trim around our fabric piece. So you line it up just so, and layer it on top. Now, we found these materials at Joann Fabrics, but any place that carries curtain-like cloth and curtain trim is where you'll find this stuff by the yards. And really, we only need about a yard to a yard and a half of it. So once it's all nicely done up, it'll start resembling that beautiful epaulette. Now to help these epaulets stay in place, we started cutting the lining from another jacket to help create shoulder pads. After sewing those in and hot gluing the epaulets on, the result was stunning. In the graphic novel, Thrawn isn't necessarily depicted with epaulets, but really, it adds such a command and flair to the Grand Admiral uniform, don't you think? Well, we're not done yet, folks. You see how the Grand Admiral's uniform has this double-breasted thing right through the front? Well, we're going to be turning this giant piece of white fabric into that. Alright, first we had to draw out our outline of the double breast onto the white fabric. All the measurements were made exactly to my body size, so I really couldn't give you any numbers here, guys. It's all dependent upon, well, your body type. Once all that's measured out and nicely placed, we cut the first layer and layered it on top of a second layer, redrew slightly larger, and then cut that again, with the intention to fold over and create a double-layered, double-breasted piece of fabric. I know, it sounds really complicated, but trust me, it looks a lot better than just a single layer of fabric sitting on top of those buttons. Again, we want to hide everything. So now once all of that is cut and folded and sewn in, we layer that on top of our jacket per to specified measurements. We start to sew in only one side of the double breast, with the intention to Velcro the other side in with Scotch all-weather clear fasteners, very important that they're clear, so that way I can still get in and out of this thing. Whoa, what is that? Is that an Imperial rank bar? How are we gonna make that? Think cheap. Again, a packet of Eclipse gum. What could this turn into? I really don't. Oh, look at those! Those look awfully familiar. Now, since this isn't the right size we need, we're gonna have to do a little bit of surgery here. As you can tell, I cut out one piece and placed it right on top of the second piece. Now, I intend to, of course, hot glue that in place. So there you go. Now we have a fully flush, nice looking rank bar. Wait, we're still missing two pieces on the left side. Let's go ahead and chop those out. of the other piece that we're horribly mutilating right there along that seam. Choppity chop, and there we go. Now, it turns out that it actually sits a lot more flush than I originally thought. And it's at this point that I'm really starting to like where this thing is going. Look at this, guys. Look at this beautifully mutilated piece of gum to make this wonderful rank bar. Now that it's all glued together, we'll take a look at the back here, and that's a little worrisome. I can still pop the gum out, and I need those to keep its shape. So, what can we do with our spare piece of cardboard? Oh, what do you know? Now that we've chopped up the cardboard and hot glued it to the back, we have a nice hard backing which will keep all of our gum in place, but it still looks like Eclipse gum, and no Imperial officer will be caught dead wearing Eclipse gum on their chest. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to assemble our paints. I'll be using a special silver acrylic for the backing, as well as a high gloss yellow, red, and blue paint for the specific little buttons on top. Now, you can find these at Joann's or Michael's or anywhere they sell paints these days. Look at that beautiful silver. Now, since this is going on a gum packet and the plastic is quite thin, you're going to need to use a lot more layers than you'd think. Also, you'll notice that I'm attempting to keep everything pretty much in the same direction, because this, in the end, has to look like metal, which means it can't look like it has a bunch of brush strokes running through it. So once you've applied multiple layers, you should have a nice, solid, chunky looking metal piece of, well, something. It still needs a lot more detailing, but we're on our way. So let's take out our high gloss paints and do these one at a time. You can see I've already started detailing the blues, then I move on to detailing the reds, and then I move on to detailing the yellows, which look, I know, fat and ugly and terrible and drippy and wet, which is because the yellow wasn't applying very well. But after it dried and I did some silver touch-ups, there is our final piece, our beautiful Imperial rank bar. Much more affordable than ordering from a professional. Now, while we're on the subject of paints, it is important to notice that Thrawn happens to be a lovely shade of light blue. So instead of buying expensive airbrush paints, my mother had the lovely idea of discovering how to mix certain normal makeups to create a lovely blue sheen. All we did was just use eyeshadow and a light foundation. And you can mix this to make pretty much any kind of alien skin color you want. Alright, back to the small stuff. Imperials have funny looking belts, don't they? Remember our plastic bucket we used to make the epaulets? Well, you can still use that to make a belt buckle too. Paint it with the same silver paint you've acquired, and take a trip to a hardware store and pick up some little silver grommets or washers. Oops, subliminal message. So you're going to want to glue those on top, just like Imperials have that little button thing on top. And also make sure to paint the same color. I know it's hard to tell on camera, but trust me, it looks much better in person. Now that's all flushing together, you're going to make your belt. As you guessed it, this is an old belt that I had and a lot of useless pieces of Velcro that didn't work on a separate part of the project, but we'll be using those with our hot glue gun as well. Now this belt is beaten up and has seen better days, but that's alright. Its life is just about to extend. Oh, and of course, we can't forget about our lovely painted belt buckle. Let's get these two acquainted then, shall we? Now, I ripped my belt in half simply because I want to be a solid black, and since the inside wasn't going to be seen anyway, I knew it'd be ugly. Now I hot glued all these pieces together, as well as hot gluing some old Velcro on top of it, just because it wasn't sticking anymore, and as soon as I measured up to my body, voila, a new belt. Oh snap, gloves. Okay, you know what, Thrawn doesn't have to have gloves. In fact, he's more commonly depicted with just blue hands. But I'd rather not get blue on everything, including myself. So I think I'll go for the white gloves. Now, how are we gonna do this? I looked around everywhere for a pair of nice white gloves, but none of them were affordable enough for me. So check out this next bit of homemade cosplay magic. That's right, clown gloves. Now we have to hide this absolutely horrid red backing because Thrawn doesn't have a lick of red on him that isn't on his rank bar. We gotta get rid of those somehow. So, here's what we're gonna be using. Remember that white fabric that we still have left over from making the double-breasted part? Well, we're gonna be using that to create sort of like forearm cuff bracers, if you will. Simply measure around your glove, hot glue like you would making a pocket, and then cut to size. And there you go. Now you've just extended cuffs onto your clown gloves. But I'm assuming, of course, that you picked up the same exact clown gloves that I did, but This is just one method you can do, and these I got for like $5 at Party City, so very affordable and very effective. And if you guys don't know just how effective, well... May I have the honor of presenting to you the pristine picture of perfection in the Imperial Academy. Alright, now, maybe this isn't up to 100% specifications by the 501st to be a Grand Admiral, but I think it's pretty darn good from far away. Now, if you're wondering about those boots right there, I ordered those from this particular site. It's a Halloween costume store that has decent price boots, but you really will be hard-pressed to find similar boots of a cheaper nature anywhere else. So yeah, okay, that's not anything I made myself, so whoop-de-doo, sue me. But the rest of the costume is completely do-it-yourself awesome! Well, I had a lot of fun making this, and I'm going to have even more fun wearing this at Star Wars weekends. And I'll be sharing that with you guys when the day comes. Be sure to stay tuned for the rest of the do-it-yourself videos this weekend from all of our other awesome press players on this channel. And remember, life is a play, and the play is the thing. I'll see you guys next week. We're going to put this on again. I decided to take a trip to Walt Disney World to show you guys how to be a sorcerer of the Magic Kingdom.